Because it's those failures, those images that didn't work, that are really going to improve my photography beyond anything else. So this week I'd planned to do, or part recorded as well, to do a video on Lightroom and my sort of 5 tips for Lightroom, but I've just been on a walk today with Pebbles and I've changed my mind because I've been thinking about Iceland and some of the, I showed you all my best photos from Iceland, but there's so many photos I took that didn't turn out well. And I thought it'd be so useful if I sort of could go through those photos, the ones that didn't turn out that well, and tell you why, and tell you, more importantly, what I learnt from those photos and how I think I can improve as a photographer by sort of dissecting them a little bit and then making those changes next time I get into a similar situation, whether that be with the light or whether it might just be some compositional changes that I can make or that I've learnt from those failures, because actually it's the failures that make the difference. It's the failures that really improve your photography beyond anything else. Back in the studio now. So before I go on to looking at these failures from Iceland, hate that, why did I do that? Before I get on to looking at these failures from Iceland, I've just got this cool thing through the post. So I've just got this through the post from a company called Moo, which I don't even think it's available in the US, just in the UK. But I got some postcards just to say thank you. Yeah, so the small things matter. So I've been trying to improve how I send my prints out. So I got these really cool little stickers that go on my envelopes that I put in my prints in and stick on the box as well. So I decided to begin with just to get 2 of my favourite images, one of Bleton and Yosemite, because that means a lot to me, where I had my accident, and then I tried different things as well, one with Pebbles as well. Although I think the one with Pebbles, my daughter is going to take them all to school, so you might not see those if you get a print. And I also got some thank you cards as well. So these look really nice on matte, and I can just write a note to everybody that's bought a print. Anyway, I just wanted to say thanks. I really do appreciate it. They've sold out now. The limited edition 50 of the A3 prints, but thank you very much for purchasing them. I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's go and have a look at these sort of 5 images that I wanted to go through with you. So all these 5 images were images that I was so excited about. And as I show you the footage that I took, because I vlogged when I took a few of these images, you'll see how excited I was about it. I thought it was going to be an amazing image. And how many times have you done that? I've certainly done it a huge amount of times where I get to a location, I get set up, I think I've got a really good composition, the light comes good, and then I get back and I look at it and I think, oh, that's just not turned out as well as I thought it would do. And that was the case with these 5 images. So image number 1 was one of the first images I took when I got to Iceland. So this was the second day. The first day we shot a bit of an aurora, and then we got up the second day for a sunrise at this location. And rather than me explain exactly what I found, let's just roll this bit of footage now, and then you can see it. We've got up early to get to sunrise, and it's glorious. What a glorious morning. And yeah, so we've stopped at the side of the road, and I'm not going to pronounce any of the mountains, but I'll put the name of it down here. There's this amazing mountain which is just stunning, like all the hills here in Iceland, and we've just stopped at the side of the road to just photograph it. And I found a small composition here. Unfortunately there's no sky, but I found a small composition that I'll just take you down and show you. So here you can see I've got some amazing ice formations on the ground, and that sort of leads right into this stunning rock formation of this mountain behind. Okay, so as you can see, I probably pointed out that the sky wasn't very good, but I was really excited by the foreground composition. But actually, when you look at the image now, I don't think it works, and I think there's a number of levels it doesn't work. The first one is that the foreground has just not got great light on it, so I don't think it really. I tried to show a different colour temperature between the foreground and and the warmer tones in the sky and on the mountain, and I just don't think that came through even though I processed it. And if you look at the image that is before I processed it, then you can see that I was working with a fairly poor raw image. And then the really nice patterns in this ice just haven't come across on the image, and I don't think I've gone close enough to the ice. So really it's a very messy image. It's just like a little bit of ice in amongst this grass, and it just looks untidy really. So it's just not worked on that level. So I think it's poor composition, bad light, and poor timing, because I probably should have taken it a little bit later when that light was on the grass. So of those 4 things that I did in a video a while back that I think are really important for a very good photo, it doesn't really have many of them. So it didn't really work. And I suppose that the learning point from this is just to really think more about my foreground and not get overexcited because I'm in an amazing location. And that happens, and it's certainly happened to me loads of times in the past, where you get somewhere you think, oh, I'm going to take such a good shot here, but then you don't think about it enough, and you don't think enough about the foreground. And I'll show you a shot later on, because there's another shot that I've taken where the foreground's similar to this, and I'll show you what works and what doesn't work. So it didn't really work. So going on to image 2, so this was a very different image. This was at Stocksnes, and this is probably one of the most stunning locations in Iceland. And I'd taken my drone up and I sort of pre-visualized this shot. I knew roughly what I was going to go for. I wanted to take a panorama with my drone because I actually wanted to print this out and put it on my wall. I've got a location on my wall that's dying for a panorama, and I thought this is going to work so well as a panorama. But it's difficult to visualize that panorama until you've actually stitched it together. And what happened with this image is it just didn't work when I'd stitched it together. So you can see here that it's almost like 2 images, and they're not really joined together very well. So I've got this road that's stunning on the left hand side, and the really amazing rock and the cloud hanging in the mountains, and then you can see the distant mountains on the left hand side, and then I've got the ocean on the right hand side, but there's nothing really joining those together in the middle. Everything else is brilliant. The light's brilliant, the subject's amazing. You know, I think I've timed it pretty well, but I just don't think it works as an image because of this dark area, and your eye sort of goes to the left, then goes to the right, then goes back to the left. And if you compare it to this next image, which is another drone panorama, then this next one works so much better. This was further to the east, southeast of Iceland. It's much better. It all sort of gels together better as an image. You know, this road just leads your eye around the image really well. And the sky's dramatic. I think the fact that the composition of the mountain is just in the right place, that it's not too small. It's just really well balanced. But unfortunately on this one, it's not in focus. So one of the things that I always do on my drone is focus before I take the photos. And again, I was super overexcited, and I was up there going, oh, I'm going to get some amazing shots. The wind was getting up, and I wanted to get the shots before it got too windy. And yeah, it's just not in focus. So when you zoom in, as you can see now, it's just blurred, which is such a shame because I really like the shot. It also shows that you don't have to have any direct sunlight to get something that's quite moody. Okay, going on to the next one. So this was the same location, but a little bit later, and the light, and this is where I probably took a few of my favourite shots of the whole trip to Iceland. This wasn't one of them. So again, I did a bit of vlogging here, so let me roll that. Oh, so whilst we're waiting for the aurora, I've still got a lot of time, but the light has just come amazing. Look at the light on these mountains behind. It is so stunning. So what I've tried to do is find some foreground, and I've got this leading rock foreground here. And rather than just shoot from that side, I've tried to create a diagonal into the scene. And then I've got repeated similar types of rocks behind me, leading up to this fantastic, amazing rock formation. And the light is picking out the birds as well, which looks so stunning. And I'm just taking lots and lots of shots here. I've got it on 16mm, so super wide angle. Don't need any filters because the light is evenly lit, the scene is evenly lit, and it just looks amazing. wow, it's so amazing. So as you can see, I was pretty excited about this, the light on the background, but I just didn't pay enough care and attention to the foreground. And I took 2 images here with different rocks in the foreground. But again, there's nothing, I don't think, dominant enough to provide a really strong, simple foreground. So if you look at this one, I think this rock just almost disappears in the foreground and amongst this grass and the other rocks, and it's just not strong enough, and it certainly isn't strong enough to balance that really powerful background mountain. And balance in images is really important. And then this other one here is slightly stronger rock, but again, I just don't like it. I just think it's too messy. There's just not enough repeated patterns. I did say that in my vlog that there was repeated patterns, but I think if I'd have just took my time a little bit more, or spent a little bit more time in this location and got the composition before the light had appeared and I had that sort of window of opportunity to take it, then I'd have got a much better composition. And as it stands, I mean, this is probably slightly better than the other one, but it's just not as strong as it needs to be. It's too fussy. There's too much going on in the mid-ground, really, and yeah, it just doesn't work for me as an image. Whereas if you look at this other image where I actually handheld this and just was walking around and took it, I think it's a stronger image. I think that the foreground is much simpler. You know, this pond just is super simple. We've got that reflection, and again, simplicity shows through, really. And I really like this image. I think it's a really, really powerful image compared to those others, which are just weakened by that messy and really not very strong foreground. Final image I want to go through is, you probably saw at the end of my last video in my series of videos that I with my drone I flew through this amazing valley and over the waterfall. And what you probably saw at the end of that video as well is that I crashed my drone. So that was before I took this shot. So I crashed my drone right at the top of the waterfall and I had to walk and get it. So I'll show you that footage, but I'll also show you the vlog I took when I got back from getting my drone as well to take this image, and then I'll talk about a little bit why I don't like it. So after losing my drone at the top of this waterfall and going to find it, then I finally managed to find a composition. So what I've got is, if I just go over here and show you, I've gone into the stream, which is a really good idea when you're taking long exposures, to go down into the stream. I've got a circular polarizer on, and I'm just trying to get some really good foreground by getting really down low in the water, and that leads your eye up through the frame to this magnificent waterfall in the distance. And it looks good from the top as well. A number of reasons that this just doesn't work. Again, I think there's no flow through the image, so your eye sort of, it's a reasonably nice foreground, although the direct sun just doesn't work when you're taking moving water like this. You get too harsh highlights, and you can also see my shadow as well. But the worst part about it is that your eye doesn't follow through, it stops, and then there's some mid-ground that isn't water, and then you see the waterfall at the top. And really I need to be slightly higher up, and you need to be able to see the water going all the way through to the waterfall at the back, so that you have a journey through the image. So yeah, it's not got good light, the composition's poor, and also that sky at the top just doesn't work at all. It really detracts your eye just keeps going out of the top of the image. And if I cut that sky out, again, it just doesn't work either. So all of these images that have failed, it's no big deal. In fact, it's absolutely brilliant, because every time I do something wrong, I get better as a photographer. When I do things right, I don't think I do get better. I think, yeah, that's great, fantastic. But if I do something wrong, I think, right, next time, I'm just going to really pay attention to making sure I have a really good leading line through the image, or I'm going to pay attention to making sure the foreground is slightly more dominant if I've got something that I'm going to use. The ice, make sure I go closer to it and look at the detail in the ice, or those rocks, making sure I have something that has got better repeating patterns. So I've learned a lot from those 5 images that failed. And then the next time I go out, hopefully I'm not going to make those same mistakes again. Okay, thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been of use to you, and I hope that by sharing some of the photos that don't work out for me, and there's hundreds more like this. I show you the best ones usually in videos, but I think it's important to show you all my failures as well, because there's so many more failures than there are successes. And I hope that's been of use to you. If you're not subscribed, then please subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. Okay, have a great week, and until next Sunday, bye. Because it's those images that haven't worked, those failures, that are really going to... Ah, shit. Ow!